And you have a chat.
So how would I get this?
Like a champ. Tacos. I would like some tacos and chicken.
Because I enjoy.
Chris, is your kids' money from? Do you sell the templates or is it all?
I actually
The ugliest website you've ever made?
Not quite, there's been uglier.
And then
And those things don't count, so they don't.
If you're gonna say information,
I think it's participate to make.
you handle added.
Yeah, they have some different.
the bottom,
But you want to work with the shop, this fire engine thing. And you're like, oh, this is so squared off.
And we have about 3 minutes before we start, so I just wondered, does anybody have any questions before we begin that they want to bring? One of the goals is that whenever somebody comes to the meetup, if they have a question, they don't leave without it being asked or hopefully answered, even more so. And if we can't answer it, then we'll try to maybe even get some research and then send you an answer later. But if it has anybody come with a question that we already have some pretty bright minds in here that can help out with some answers. Does anybody? No?
we'll see.
Okay. Just some general things, if anybody has ever heard of these lately. There is a new podcast that I got kind of hooked onto called EntreLeadership. Has anybody heard of that? It's actually by his organization, Dave Ramsey's organization, EntreLeadership. For any of you starting any type of business, highly recommend, if you like listening to podcasts, or even if you don't, I still recommend you listen to it. There's so much great information from some of the top businessmen and women in the world. I mean, some amazing, amazing guests that they bring on. Plus Dave Ramsey, who is just an amazing teacher of finance and business, is on there giving his excerpts out of the book called EntreLeadership. I tried to find the book here, but it's been so late. I usually have to let Barnes & Nobles in advance know about five or at least 10 days prior to that. There's a handful of books that I want before I talk about it. So we're not technically allowed to pitch or sell anything here, except when it comes to Barnes & Noble's books. So that is one book I am saying, if you ever get a chance, EntreLeadership for entrepreneur and leadership put together, highly recommend getting the book, or if not, at least start listening to the podcast, because you can scan through the podcast descriptions if there's anything specific you're looking to get ideas for and doing that.
Chris, what was that book again?
It's called Entree Leadership, like entrepreneurial part of Entree, and then leadership, and it's by Dave Ramsey. But yeah, the podcast is fantastic. They have such great people that come on that. I mean, some of the biggest names in business go on there. I think we even had Sir Richard Branson, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, really big names. So I highly recommend that anyway. And then even some people that they have just amazing stories that they'll just bring on there. That you can go on there. So that's one thing that's been coming up. Also, for those of you who have been getting my emails, how many of you do not get my emails? Okay, so this is for you mostly because the rest of you probably are dying. I mean, tired of hearing about it. But there is. I got 5 free tickets to an event in Las Vegas. It's $500 typically, but because Stephen and I, we run a company that's actually going to be a sponsor there. We're given 10 total free tickets to give out, so we can bring with our team, I guess, or our crew if we wanted to. And it's usually $500 a piece. With the special link that I've been giving, you can actually go for free. I just need to know who's going to go, and I'll give you the link, and then you can go ahead and do it. But we only have 5 spaces available. Now, what they're going to teach is how to sell physical product online. Basically, what we've been learning for those of you who know what ASM is, the Amazing Selling Machine, that course. This is like a add-on type lesson or teaching. So it goes into some of the advanced stuff. It also enhances what you've already learned in that if you've taken the course. But most than anything, if you've never taken it, if you want to get into retail or e-retailing or e-commerce, that is the place you want to start, if anything, if you don't know where to begin and looking at. I'll be there from the day before with the registration all the way through the end, probably at my table most of the break. So if you ever just come and chat and ask more questions about it. I do sell on Amazon one product, but I do service people who sell multiple products online for our advertising company. So very well versed at how the process works. But there's nothing like these top guys that are in the industry actually going to be selling or showing some of the strategies and techniques that are available to people. So if you're interested in going, please let me know. Come to me at the end of the night, and I'll be happy to give you the link to it. I just need to make sure I know all the people that are going on that one. Sorry, the 3 that just came in, because I know that you guys are in ASM, and I just was curious. I want to make sure. Did you guys know about the 3 tickets? Are you guys going to the event? If you want to go, I have 5 free tickets left. John, and if you guys want to go, I still have tickets. What else? So for those of you who are brand new to the group, again, this is it's considered what we call a no-pitch group, which means that when you come here, you're going to get information. If you're new to the group and you have any questions that come about throughout the evening, typical nights, you just go ahead and ask your questions. We have a speaker who has an agenda, and she's cramming an hour and a half worth of information into an hour, or to give us. So it may be best to keep questions toward the end, because there is 15 minutes of Q&A. So that would be looking. Well, we are scheduled to finish at 8:30, but we often go long. So if it's casual, if you need to leave, I know some of you have babysitters that you need to go to relieve. So feel free to leave at any time. Let's see, I guess the only other housekeeping that's in here is Barnes & Noble is very gracious, and they do want people. So if you want to get coffee, you're very welcome to eat and drink in here. Just as you exit, if you could, there is a trash can at the exit. They just ask that you throw it out there at the end. I will be here until the room is clean and cleared. So if anybody has questions after the event, tonight, then by all means, please feel free to let me know. What else? I think that was all of the announcements that I had.
I got a YouTube SEO course coming up at the library.
Oh, so that's another thing. How many of you have meetup groups that run your own meetup groups? Okay, you know what? Really, I love to promote other meetup groups because we only meet once a month. If there's other meetup groups that are out here, these things are so valuable. I'm going to go around the room, I guess, if you don't mind. Just mention where your meetup group elevator pitch on what your meetup group is about and how they can find you.
Mine is the Antelope Valley Photographers.
Okay.
650 members.
Awesome. And when do you guys meet?
Well, we do a face-to-face last Thursday of every month.
I'm sorry?
Last Thursday of every month.
Is it a set location or?
Greenhouse Cafe.
Ooh, great place. Okay. So, and how can they find you? Antelope Valley Photographers. I'm sorry, your name is?
Douglas.
And we have Douglas that runs that there. I think Marisa?
Yeah, so I'm Marisa Murgatroyd. I'll be speaking more. I've got a meetup called Internet Famous LA, and I run it out of my home in Marina Del Rey, so people come to my home.
Wow.
And we do it once a month on Monday nights at 7 o'clock. And I bring one Internet Famous guest in. The next one is happening February 22nd. I've got Steve Olsher, who created an award-winning podcast, Reinvention Radio. He's also the founder of Flickr.com, so there we go, business. And yeah, I posted Jason Fladlin and Natalie Ledwell, a lot of people who are also online.
That's awesome. Okay.
That's in LA, so.
You said Monday the 22nd?
Yeah, the 22nd.
What time?
7 o'clock.
And the name of?
For RSVP, it's $20, but I also provide food and we record it and all of that. So it's called Internet Famous LA.
Internet Famous LA. And that's on meetup.com, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And somebody else, I saw a hand go up back on this side that had another meetup. I thought there was 4. Anthony? Oh,
Oh, yeah. I was just taking notes, putting it on my calendar. I'm Anthony Frank. I have a couple of meetups in town. One is every week Monday show. It's called Better Marketing Mondays. It's on Meetup, or you can just go to bettermarketingmondays.com and it'll redirect you to the page. It's a complimentary marketing training. It's Monday from 12 to 12:30, and when I have a guest, it usually runs till 1 o'clock. And then the second Saturday every month, here at the Old Town Newhall Library, we have a free WordPress training class. We've been doing that like 2.5 years, so some of the people there asked if we could teach them how to do SEO for YouTube. So the next agenda is how to do SEO for YouTube.
awesome. Gordon, you had your hand up.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm actually just getting one started. We actually haven't had a first meeting because the one I scheduled nobody RSVP'd for. But it's called the Santa Clarita Online Training and Information Products Meetup. So it's along the same lines as this, marketing and how to create information products and less of the physical product stuff. But it's
Awesome.
sort of related.
So those of you who actually gave your announcements, if you don't mind emailing me, so the next thank you that I give out announcement, I'll make sure that I'll put your links into each. If you send me the link for your meetup as well, so I can put that in there. Because like I said, there's just great people in this valley and outside, I mean, all over, that you can go ahead and get to meet. And these meetups are very valuable all over the place. And you know, I love to see people networking and getting to know each other any way possible. So I guess if you're ready, we can get started. So I'd like to bring up, this is Marisa Murgatroyd. And to be honest, when I heard that she was interested in actually reaching out to see if there's something she could do with our group, I was really excited because I've seen some of her online summits that she's done. We had a guy that did the summit in the past that was here, Byron, and he talked about how to do a summit. He did his first launch. Well, she's experienced and has done some really big ones with some incredible names that have actually been part of her summits. What did they call it? The
Superhero Summit.
The superhero summits, and it is amazing content that came out. So when she said that she would be willing to come and speak, I invited her to come out and said we'd absolutely love to have her do it. Now the other thing is, what's really cool is you have an event coming up in how many weeks?
About 3, February 26th to 28th.
So the 26th to 20th, there's a live event down by LAX, right?
Yeah.
And it's 3 days, and was it 900 something?
What tickets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like a $1,000 event, and she has a special, I guess, a special offer for us tonight on that way, which I've already signed up for because I was planning to go. With the names that she can attract to these things, it's amazing for a 3-day thing. So you're welcome to go ahead and mention that, but thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. This is really fun. I love to get together people in the real world because I do so many webinars every single month and every single week, and I'm talking to people across the internet, so it's great being in a room like this and having everyone face to face. And for those of you who don't know me, I mean, have any of you seen my work before or been on one of the superhero summits or something like that? So a few of you, which is great. And for everyone else, I'm actually known as the shortest woman in marketing because I'm 4'11" and a quarter. But then I hired Leanne over there, and She used to be taller than me, but she's 57 and she shrank. So now she's saying, but I'm the shortest woman in marketing. So I don't know. Maybe I'm no longer the shortest woman in marketing, but we have a few different things that we do just to give you a little bit of context. I've got a high-end branding agency, and I work with a lot of people who are 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs who really want to rebrand and relaunch themselves online. So I've got a lot of clients like, and I don't know who you know or who you follow, but people like Justin Livingston and Kellen Rush and Danny Eny and people who are doing some awesome work in the world. And I also train a lot of, thousands of students around the world and how to really build an online business that feels aligned to who they are. Less about selling the commodities on Amazon and more about building a business based on, you can be selling products, but really differentiating based on who you are. Because a lot of the people who've gotten to be really big, like the biggest breakout success this past year has been Kimra Luna. And I don't know if any of you have followed her, but she's got this blue hair and she's like this punk rocker chick. And everybody loves when you come out and you're not afraid to show your character and to really be more bold, more self-expressed, have marketing that doesn't sound like everybody else's marketing. And so that's part of what I'm going to talk about today. Speak up. Can you all hear me fine? All right. Anybody not hear me in the back row? I think we're good. Okay. So what I wanted to really share today is the 4 master keys to unlock your business success. And I'm going to be teaching all of these in depth at Message to Money Live, like Chris said, and he's coming out, which is going to be really fun. But I really want to give you a sample of what these keys can do for your business, because it's really awesome when you get them dialed in terms of how you can have business success. And we've had our business for a little bit over 4 years, and 4 years ago I was in a day job. I was working in a nonprofit, an economic justice nonprofit. And now, last year our business crossed the $1.5 million mark. And it's not all about the money, but we get to do what we love and make a big impact on people. And we have, a few different verticals in our business. So when you get this stuff right, you really can have very steady progress. And that's what I want to share. So to start off with, does anyone know what this is a picture of?
It's a ghost town.
It's a ghost town. Absolutely, it's a ghost town. So what do you think a ghost town has to do with having an online business? And I won't ask you to answer that right now, because I'll answer it in just a second. But first of all, like, a ghost town doesn't start off as a ghost town, right? How does a ghost town become a ghost town? Anyone?
Everybody leaves.
Everybody leaves, right? Yeah, everybody leaves. So that's exactly how it becomes a ghost town. But how does a ghost town get started? Because obviously it doesn't begin its journey as a ghost town. Can anyone guess? Yeah.
Usually starts out because there's a lot of product or something like gold mines and stuff like that. You have a industry, and then suddenly the industry dries up and everybody moves to something else.
Exactly. For some reason, that town is in the right place at the right time to take advantage of gold or water or a train rolling into town or any number of phenomena, and it becomes this boom town. And then whatever it based its success on all of a sudden disappears, sometimes almost overnight, and it becomes a ghost town. And there's a lot of different reasons that can happen, whether the water runs dry, the mines run out, the highway gets diverted, people are no longer coming to that town. And when that happens, you don't want to be really heavily invested in that town. You don't want to be the saloon keeper, you don't want to have a hotel there, you don't really want to be heavily invested in this town. So what I really want to share is what's going to be prevent you and your online business from becoming that ghost town. And you might think, well, this doesn't happen today. There's no such thing as a ghost town. It was in the days of the Wild West when everybody was, heading out for the gold mines and heading out to take advantage of these new opportunities. But who knows about Detroit today? So in Detroit in 1950, Detroit was the undisputed automobile capital of the world. And they had almost 2 million people living in Detroit. And flash forward to today, the city of Detroit, the entire city of Detroit literally went bankrupt. And 2/3 of their population just headed out of town and left because all of a sudden the automobile industry, like Detroit, built its entire success on cars. And then cars went overseas, there was too many labor laws, and they decided that they couldn't afford to do business in Detroit. And all of a sudden Detroit became a what?
Ghost town.
A ghost town, right? So it still happens today, and you're probably saying, well, this is a presentation about online business, so why are you talking about ghost towns? Can anyone guess?
Because that's what happens with our online business. It can become a ghost town. If
Trends.
Yeah.
If we lose everything.
Yeah, so many people build their online business based on a single tactic, a single trend. Does anyone remember GeoCities? MySpace, anyone? Google Wave, Google Plus, Second Life, right? People had entire careers and businesses based on these platforms that are no longer around. They just don't exist. And a lot of the teaching and a lot of the business training out there, they're really telling you to go, all right, here's how you do Google Plus, and it's the next big thing, and you gotta do this next big thing, because if you do this next big thing, then you're gonna be successful. And you hear these messages all over the internet of people saying you gotta do this next big thing, and then you're gonna be successful. And so I see a lot of people just flooding into one trend or one tactic or one technology, and then that one's saturated or no longer hot, and they flood into the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And I don't know about you, but I want to build a business that's going to be around basically until the day I die and beyond if I wanted to. I want to build a business that's really built on the fundamentals of what it takes to have a business that's going to be successful beyond that boom and bust, being in the right place at the right time trend that, you know, is what the boom towns experienced. And the really interesting thing is that when you're living in a boom town, it's like super exciting, right? It's people are pounding on your doors, everyone's flooding in, and you can start to get a little bit cocky and start to feel overconfident, like this is gonna last forever. And I see this happening to people all the time. They're like, I'm on Periscope every single day, and I'm streaming these videos, and people are following me, and this is just gonna last forever, right? And then all of a sudden, people no longer are going to Periscope, and it starts to fail, and then they're out of a business because they built their entire success on that one trend, or that one tactic, or that one technology. And I see this happening over and over and over again with people who feel like being on business, you know, in business online is somehow different than being in business in general offline. So instead of treating it like a real business, they're treating it like this pursuit of the next shiny object or trend, or this instant get-rich-quick plan. And I just see this all the time. And I had this little story that I wanted to share, which is kind of a funny story. But my husband Murray and I went to the circus the other night, Cirque du Soleil. They've got a new circus in town called Curios, and it's really good if you want to go. So there's a story of the bearded lady, and the bearded lady fell in love with the world's strongest man. And they decided to start a family, and the bearded lady got pregnant. And I don't know what that kid was going to look like, but the bearded lady got pregnant. And so their friend, the ringmaster, came along and said, how are you guys doing? She's like, great, you know, we're really excited to have a family. We want to be the best, the most loving parents that we can possibly be. And then the ringmaster says, so do you want a boy? Do you want a girl? The bearded lady says, you know, it doesn't really matter. All we want is the kid to be happy and for the kid to fit inside of a cannon, right? Yes. And it's really interesting because when people go into this online business thing, they're like, I have this business, I've got this baby, but it's got to fit into this cannon. And they start to have this limited perspective of what their business can be because their entire business is based on, you know, Amazon selling machines, amazing. My husband Murray had an Amazon store for a while. He was selling public domain books, making several $1,000s a month. And then one day, one of his books was a compilation book, right? And one of the stories in that book out of all of them was not in public domain, and the rest of the book was. We didn't get authorization from that one particular person, and they shut the entire business down. My husband can never sell on Amazon again. And there was no recourse, no way to kind of petition this. They had final say. We were in their playground, and because we were in their playground, you know, we had to follow their rules, and we unintentionally broke a rule, then we were out. The entire business gone overnight. And that's kind of this example of the boom and the bust. And it's great to sell a product in Amazon and get that money flowing in, and then if you're able to take that and maybe invest in building another vertical, you're gonna have a lot more stability if for whatever reason Amazon decides to change its policies, right? Could happen overnight. It happens on Facebook, it's happened on so many different kinds of media. And I've seen people just go essentially bankrupt or their entire money dry up overnight. So it's super easy to put your business into this limited box. How can I get my business to fit inside this cannon, right? How can I get my baby to fit inside that cannon? And then you're overlooking what it takes to have a successful business over the long term. And this is the biggest mistake that people make in the online business world, and you've probably seen people succeed almost overnight who are no longer here today. I mean, who has seen something like that? Anybody? Yeah? Absolutely, it happens all the time. And the thing is that when it comes to building a business that's going to be around for many, many years and start to grow exponentially, there are some really key steps that you have to take. And there are all these people out there, and they're like selling you these magic flying suits, saying you're just gonna like strap on this magic flying suit and you're gonna fly to the top of the stairway overnight. And then people are building these businesses built out of cardboard that essentially collapse. And there are a few steps. Now, I'm not saying that, magic can't happen and you can't fly, but usually you've got to take a few steps to get to that top of the stairway before you strap on, your jetpack and accelerate from there. And when you put those foundational elements in place, then you've got the business that's going to outlast the trend and the technologies and the tactics. And this is something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, because it's a lot more sexy sometimes to talk about like Meerkat and Periscope and Penguin and everything else, and really get infatuated with this idea of creating boomtowns, of being in the right place at the right time. If I can just get ahead of this one trend, then I'm going to be able to own this trend. And it's just dangerous thinking, and I see people make this mistake all the time. And I'm kind of on this personal mission to talk about how do you build a business the right way that's going to be around for 5 years, 10 years, beyond, and you're going to be able to grow your presence every single year. And we've literally, from the time I started my business in 2011, making $58,000 a year, we doubled, and one year we even tripled every single year up until last year, where we're getting into the multi-million-dollar mark right now. So, but you weren't these overnight successes. We really followed the steps. And so I wanted to go over some of these fundamental building blocks and steps, because it's so easy to forget about them, especially when you start to pursue the trends and the tactics and technologies that everybody out there is talking about. And like I said, there's a couple dangers. The main danger when you start to pursue and follow all these trends is it's hard for your business to become predictable and sustainable. Because like you said, you're playing in somebody else's sandbox, and they could boot you out at any time, like what happened with my husband Murray. And the second one is, like you said, you never know when the gold mine is going to run out. You never know when people are going to lose interest. You never know when all of a sudden Second Life is no longer hot, or GoGo Plus was just a big flop. So what if there were a better way to build your online business? I mean, would you be interested in knowing if there were a better way that didn't rely on the trends and the tactics and the technologies? Would you be interested in hearing about that?
Yeah.
Excellent. That was the just steady, build your business step by step by step, so what you're building is solid foundation that's not going to just be, when the world changes, when the market changes, when the economy changes, when the technological world changes. So that's what I really want to talk about, is how to build the business independent of the trends, the technologies, the tactics. And then, of course, there's a place for all these things. There's a place for Meerkat and Periscope and all of that once you've got this core foundation in place. I mean, I've got people who are like on Periscope every single day, and I say, how much time are you spending on Periscope? He's like, an hour a day. And then last week he Facebook messages my husband and I to see if he can crash at our place for 2 weeks because he's like couch surfing. It's like, dude, just put away Periscope. Stop bothering, with Periscope. Put it away. You're not monetizing this audience. And actually start having conversations with real people and create some real offers, because Periscope's not going to get you there. But once you are at a certain level and you've got offers that convert, you have that value, then when you add something like a Periscope to the mix, it is like strapping that jetpack on, but you've already gotten to that top of the stairway, so you're ready to take off. And then when you do it this way, you're not going to have to worry about that highway getting diverted, because you're essentially building your own highway. You're building your own highway that carries your tribe, your audience, to a destination of your choosing, not to somebody else's platform. And what you build, it's really going to last. It's going to last as long as you want it to last, right? So let me tell you what these 4 master keys of online business are to really unlock your online business success. And I've been teaching online business for about 5 years since I first got started. And this is the evolution of about 5 years of watching my students and seeing, where they got stuck, where they failed, where they made mistakes, and also watching my own journey, right? I've been in this for a while, and I made a bunch of mistakes, and I kind of have a little perspective on what works and what doesn't. And this is not about the push button, overnight, instant path to success of wearing the magic flying suit. So I'm just going to warn you, and if you're looking for that, it's probably not the best presentation for you to be sitting in on. But this is really about building the solid path to success that's going to be sustainable. And I am going to give you permission to throw away, those keychains. How many of you have a keychain and you've got like 20 keys on it and you don't even remember what the keys are, and they might unlock your ex-girlfriend's house or something like that, right? And you're like, I can't remember what this key is. And it's kind of like that with marketing strategies. I see people with these 20 or 30 marketing strategies and they're making like $50,000 a year. I'm like, why are you having in 20 places if you're making $50,000 a year? You know, what if you were in one place or two place and really in that one place or two place and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars? So let's let go of all of that stuff that doesn't work and focus on what's going to work. And so these are going to be the 4 master keys of online business success. And like I said, they don't depend on any particular trend. They don't depend on any particular technology or any particular tactic. And when you ask questions at this end of this presentation, I invite you not to ask me questions about what's the best membership site platform to use or Infusionsoft versus Entreport, because that, again, it's like putting the tools before the strategies and the tactics that are actually making you the money. So to be honest, you could be on either of those platforms, and if you have something of value that people want to buy, you're going to be successful either way. So, all right, and this is really about taking charge of your own online destiny, and like I said, building your own highway. Not relying on anybody else's highway, but building your own. You know, I grew in the last 4 years. My following, our email list is like well over 50,000 from zero. And now we can launch anything we want to whenever we want to and depend on our own traffic. And of course we have partners and everything else, and that's great. But we've got control of our own destiny because we've built a following and a tribe that loves us. So the very first master key is what I call the clarity master key. And this is kind of like the one key to rule them all, because the clarity master key, without this clarity, you can't have a business. And it's really about zeroing in on your marketing message and making it unique and personal to you and authentic, but still reaching your market in a way that inspires them to say yes, right? And the thing about the clarity master key is it's a key that you come back to every single time you want to do anything. Whether you're creating a free gift, like a free opt-in gift, whether you're creating a new product, whether creating a new service offering, or whether you're thinking about your business as a whole, the strategies and the tactics and the framework of this particular master key, they're universal on anything you want to create, because you've got to get clarity on the foundation, the fundamentals of why this matters to the people you serve. And that's what this key is all about. Now, the second key is the strategy master key, and what I call the no hype way to know exactly what to do and when to do it. Because a lot of the problems with those tactics are not the tactic itself that I was talking about earlier, but when in your business, you know, growth and development, do you use those tactics? Can you really take advantage of those tactics? Because doing them too soon, you're going to waste a lot of time and money without seeing any kind of return on your investment. You got to know when to use them. And the money master key is really about how to inspire more people to invest more money more often to make a bigger difference in their lives. So many people are really obsessed with marketing, but the truth is that it's 12 times harder to get a new customer than it is to engage your existing customers and inspire them to buy the next offer and the next offer. And if you're only chasing more leads and more customers and more traffic, you're neglecting the people that you already have. And 80% of your income comes from about 20% of your customers. So the money master key is really about reducing your workload 1,200% and understanding not just how to capture the lead the first time around, but to re-engage them over and over and over again. And finally is the community master key. And the community master key is about getting off the marketing treadmill and choosing the marketing channels that are really going to make a difference in your business and allow you to build that relationship with your tribe and not try to be everywhere unless you're at the stage of business development, which usually starts at about $500,000 to $1 million, where you can have this multi-channel marketing and be like in 10 places at the same time and do it well enough that you're actually going to see some conversion and results because of that. So I don't have time to in-depth cover every single one of these keys because I think Chris gave me like 45 minutes, you know? But let me start with
Almost an hour.
an hour. Okay, great. It's through. Yay. Okay, clarity master key. I'm going to go more in depth with clarity master key because if you don't have clarity, you have nothing, right? So if you don't have clarity, you have nothing. So the clarity master key, whoops. Let me do this over again. The clarity master key is based on this framework, and I'm going to show you what's at the intersection of this framework in just a moment because the magic is in the intersection. Now these three main circles sound really simple, but I'm going to show you how when you stack each of these circles on top of each other and you get the intersections right, and I'm going to show you how to do this in just a moment, you start to craft a marketing message that inspires people to actually pay attention to what you have to offer and to lean in and want to buy from you. So here's the thing with this idea of what you offer, who you serve, how you're different. And I've been teaching, by the way, positioning and messaging for about 5 years. And I only came up with this at the end of last year. It's deceptively simple, but when I show you how it all works, you're gonna be, bing, light bulb. So here's what happens for most people. Most people get obsessed about what they offer, right? I'm an expert, I've got this amazing product, I had it developed in China, it's awesome, it's better, it's cheaper, it's faster, it's stronger, it's cuter than the other person's product, right? They're like obsessed with their product and what it does. But here's the thing, we live in a world where so many people offer the same thing. There are literally 1 billion websites on the internet and 3.25 billion people surfing the internet. So if you're competing with 1 billion websites, do you think that somebody somewhere out there has done what you've done before or offers something similar to you? Nope, never. Well, you're rare. And then you gotta wonder if you're in a profitable niche, right? So usually you want something that's got a little bit of competition, unless you're absolutely revolutionary. So what happens is if you only focus on what you offer, your business becomes a commodity. And if it's a commodity, people go for the lowest price tag, and there's no reason for them to buy from you. So I want to give you an example of a marketing message that's just based on what you offer. And this is a simplification, but what you offer, it's all about that kind of left brain. It's the analytical brain. It's like what my thing does and what my thing has. It's the features, the benefits, the technology. It's the language of logic and the problem that you solve. Now, a lot of people, how many of you have met someone and they just talked about their thing? You know, it's got this course and it's 8 modules and it's like an hour video per module and you've got this 10 hours of amazing content and I'm sitting here, 10 hours? God, I don't want to watch 10 hours of content. Who's got time to watch 10 hours of content? So if I were to just talk about what I did, and we've got about 4 verticals in our business right now, and one of our verticals is a high-end branding and online platform building agency, working with the 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs that we work with. So I'm only talking about that one vertical, and I want to show you how I built the marketing message for that particular vertical. So this is what most people do. So what do? And they say, I build websites and online brands, right? How many people have talked to someone and heard them say something like that to you? I build websites and online brands. So question for you, and no worries about hurting my feelings here, like this is about making a point, but who wants to work with me based on that? I build websites and online brands. 1 there. I got a winner. 2 there. Okay. You know, that's not so good in a room of about 40, right? Not so good. So like I said, with 1 billion websites out there and 3.25 billion people surfing the internet, you got to do more than say what you do. Because someone else is out there saying, I build websites and online brands. And, you know, nothing to differentiate me. They may be building stuff just as good as mine. Who knows, right? So let's look at what happens if you just talk about who you serve. And all you focus on is the people that you serve, right? So I could say, I work with online entrepreneurs. That's who I serve. Anyone interested? The same one, same 2. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Right? I work with online entrepreneurs. Now who wants to work with me? A couple of you, right? So like I said, with this model, the magic happens where? Anyone? At the intersections, thank you. The magic happens in the intersections. So each of these intersections, and we're going to talk about 4 of them, are really interesting. So what do you think is the intersection of who you serve and what you offer? Can anyone guess? What is that? Yes. Awesome. The intersection of what you offer and who you serve is your niche, or niche. I pronounce it niche. And some people are like, well, what exactly is a niche? Everybody's talking about niches, and how do you create one? But when you look at that at the intersection of who you serve and what you offer, it becomes a little bit more clear. So your niche is your specialization. It's what you do and who you do it for, and you really can't have a profitable business without a niche. And a niche can be broad or it can be specific. The more specific your niche is, the easier it is to get started when you're just beginning. And there are a lot of people who start with a specific niche and then go broader and have what's called, in the film language, a crossover hit. You know, how many of you have seen Napoleon Dynamite? Anyone? So when Napoleon Dynamite came out, guess who they marketed to? Guess who Fox Searchlight? What's that? Teenagers. Even more specific than that. What kind of teenagers? Nah? More specific. Nerds. There you go. So Fox Searchlight marketed Napoleon Dynamite to nerds, specifically teenage boy nerds. And it became such an amazing hit to teenage boy nerds that everybody else wanted to watch it too. But when you really own your niche, crossing over, becoming this crossover breakthrough hit becomes possible. So I've seen people start with something like SEO, then go into online business, then go into personal development, and broaden out from there because they've created their own highway and they can build their audience with, and then take them anywhere they want to. So if I were to focus more on a broad niche, I want to show you the difference between broad and specific. I could say I build brands for online entrepreneurs. All right, getting a little bit more specific there. Now I'm going to talk about this one vertical in our business, the high-end agency. And these are my clients, Justin and Callan. And I say I build branded sites for online entrepreneurs who've reached 7 or 8 figures, but when you look at their site, you can't tell. So now, and I know that not all of you are at this level in the audience right now, but now who wants to work with me? More interested? Yeah, more interested, right? Quite a lot more interested, But now, let me tell you, because not all of you maybe fits the bill, which is great, because you want to exclude the people who don't fit as much as you include. But who understands who I help and what I do for them right now? Yeah? So you get it, right? And who can immediately think of somebody that fits this description? Yes. Maybe you've been on the website of someone who's already famous, they're already $1 million entrepreneur, and their website sucks, and you're like, how can they possibly be making the amount of money they're making with this piece of, over here, right? How's that possible? So now let's talk about another intersection, because something's missing still. What can you think is missing from my description? Can anyone guess? That I just said. It can get better than it has already. Differentiator. Exactly. Right? How you're different. That's what's missing. So if you look at how you're different, and I ask you the question, what makes you different? In this world of 1 billion websites, where the attention span of humans has actually dropped in the last 10 years from 12 seconds to 8 seconds, which is 1 second less than a goldfish. So in this world where people have less attention than a goldfish, what is your plan to be different from all the other people in your niche who do something similar to you? I mean, does anyone have a plan? And you could say, well, I've got this podcast, or I'm going to build this website, or I'm going to write another blog post, but that's a tactic, trend, technology-driven approach that's not going to last, right? So what makes you different? And I want to show you how a lot of people approach this. Most people approach differentiation in this really knee-jerk, superficial way. I could say, I'm 4'11" and a quarter. I am 4'11" and a quarter. I just wore bigger shoes to pretend today. I'm 4'11" and a quarter, right? And I do put this on my resume. I call myself the shortest woman in marketing because it just gets a good laugh, right? But if that were all that I based my differentiation on, it wouldn't be that effective. And I've seen some marketers out there that are like, well, I have pink hair. Well, I've got blue hair, right? Or whatever it happens to be. And it's not that deep or meaningful a differentiation for who? Your audience, right? It's not deep and meaningful for them. So this particular question of what makes you different, the rabbit hole goes really deep on this question. And I could spend, days. I have a 3-day workshop called Your Brand in a Weekend where I do spend 3 days helping people uncover this thing. But the rabbit hole goes really freaking deep. And I don't know if I have enough time for all of these examples, so I'm going to skip some of these examples. But, for example, a story. I'll just go into one. This is my personal trainer, Melissa. And she came to my internet famous LA meetup a few weeks ago. And then she basically started to get obsessed with the question of what makes you different. And the very next day she was training me. And she says, Marisa, and she's Romanian. So she's like, Marisa, every single time since I come, see your internet famous LA, I can't sleep. I'm thinking, what makes me different? What makes me different? I don't have an answer. And so I said, okay, well, if you had to say something, what would it be? And she says, I like to help people. I like to make people feel good. I want to make a difference. I'm like, Melissa, nobody cares about all that. I mean, it sounds nice, and I appreciate that you want to help me and make a difference. I don't care. I really don't. And so I kind of broke my rule where she was not coaching with me, but she meant so well, and so I started to really pepper her with some questions and start to probe her and poke her and go deeper. And basically started to unearth her story, asked her where she came from, asked her about her childhood. And what I discovered is that Melissa, she grew up poor as dirt. She grew up so poor that she had to share one pair of shoes with 2 sisters, her older sister and her younger sister. And in Romania at the time, Nadia Comaneci was this famous international gymnast who won the Olympics and got a perfect 10, which had never happened before. And so all the girls wanted to be Nadia Comaneci. And so that moment after school when she went to the gym and she wore the shoes that she could only wear a third of the time, and she started to work out, she felt like anything was possible. She felt like she could fly. She felt like being in that gym made anything possible for her. And now she helps people find that moment in the day when their stress and their anxiety and their worry just seems to melt away, and anything becomes possible again in their life. It's just them and their body. And so we put together this little story for her, right? And then she goes away, and the next week she comes back and she says, Marisa, guess what? I told this story to everybody I meet, and every time I tell it, I felt like a hero. And I got 3 new clients. And for the first time, those clients paid me $120 an hour. Before, she was asking $75 an hour. In the span of a week, she started changing the way that she spoke about what she did. She told this story that had emotional connection to people. They could really resonate. I mean, I want a trainer who, you know, this physical activity of going to the gym was their outlet of finding possibility and freedom and feeling like they could fly. I want that trainer to be working me out, right? And she's been working me out for 7 or 8 months. I knew nothing about her, nothing like that. And she was charges me $35 for half an hour, so me and my husband together for $70. And she'd been always asking, do you have any referrals? Do you have any friends? Do you know anybody who needs this? And I was like, yeah, sorry. And then within a week of changing the way that she talked to the people that she was already talking to, 3 customers, went from $70 an hour to $120. So it really is like you are surrounded by people who could be potential customers of yours, right? You're surrounded by leads. And the thing is that most people don't have a traffic problem, they have a conversion problem because they have no idea what to do with those leads. So I'll take conversion over traffic any day of the week. You know, if you have 1,000 leads and you can convert, 80% of them into something, I'd much rather have that than to have 10,000 leads converting at 10%, right? So most people have a conversion problem, and that art of differentiation and creating this marketing hook and message and angle is your key to really solving that conversion problem. Now, other people, they do it through their values, how they do business in a way that stands out from the way other people do business in their field. And this is my customer, Mark Head, who works for health and wellness, like insurance and the massive 1,000 to 10,000 person companies. And he really stands out because of the way he chooses to do business. From personality, my customer, Julie Lowe, who's in my high-end mastermind, she said, Marisa, like, I have the most boring personality ever. I'm sweet and I'm nice. I'm not particularly outgoing. No one's gonna want to work with me. And I said, are you freaking kidding me, Julie? You work in Facebook advertising. This is single-handedly probably one of the most overwhelming, intimidating things for so many people. They're like, I gotta learn how to do Facebook ads. Now, would they want to learn it from like the 13-year-old pimply kid who just does it in his sleep? Or would they want to learn it with someone, she's from Kentucky? Or do they want to learn it with like a slice of apple cobbler and a big hug at the end where you feel like you're doing Facebook ads with Southern comfort and welcoming? So I taught her to bring that Southern comfort tone into her voice, so what she hated about herself became the thing that differentiated her in the market. So I just said, embrace that. You can't change that. You're not going to be Kimra Luna, the punk rock chick. You're Julie Lowe. You're a sweet girl from Kentucky. And I know a lot of people who are going to want to learn Facebook ads from someone who has that honey in their voice and that they just want to give a hug to at the end. It's going to be a lot less intimidating for people who aren't those uber technology people. So just embrace what you have. Don't worry about trying to be somebody else or doing it in a particular way. Do it in your way, and that's going to differentiate you more than anything else. Michael Hancock's. He runs an environmental consulting agency called Skio. It's a multi-million-dollar agency, primarily, contracts with the federal government. You couldn't tell what he did differently. So I helped him craft a framework around his offers. We called it, and he went from having what did he call it? He had a radio station called Equal Opportunity Radio, and I rebranded him as Infinite Earth Radio. And the tagline is transcending finite natural resources with infinite human potential. So we created a framework called the Infinite Earth, model of basically combining. Most people are in the spectrum between, environmental preservation and social justice. You've got one or the other, but that's an incomplete picture. What if you add on top of that natural capital, like, the built environment? What if you add, in addition to, the social justice realm, individual innovation and human capital? So we've put together this model combining the natural environment with the human capital, with natural capital, with social capital. And all of a sudden, people could see his framework for doing the environmental consulting work that he does, which differentiates himself in the market, right? He didn't have that before, so he sounded like every single other environmental consultant. So like I said, the magic is in the intersections. So what do you think is at the next intersection, which is, I think, of what you offer and how you're different? What's at that intersection? What you offer and how you're different? Anyone? Sorry? No, it's different from niche. Anyone else? Yes.
Personality?
No.
What was your question again? I'm sorry. Can you say again your question?
What do you think is at the offer of what you offer and how you're different? What's at the intersection of what you offer and how you're different? What do you create when you connection? Now, what do you create when you differentiate your offers? Value. Yes, it's value. So a lot of people talk about defining your unique value, having a value proposition, right? But what exactly is value? Value is about differentiating what you offer. That's what creates value, right? Most people don't know, well, what exactly creates it? And, oops, I gave it away.
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't see it. But the intersection of who you serve and how you're different is your tribe. And a lot of people talk about tribe building, list building, right? But the only way to build a tribe is to be different to who you serve in a way that they appreciate, right? So let's talk first about value, or the intersection of what you offer and how you're different. So value is your competitive advantage, or why your clients choose to work with you over everybody else who does what you do. And this is your promise, your unique way of doing what you do, serving your tribe, or achieving an outcome that nobody else can, right? That's value. And now let me show you how I construct our high-end agency site around value. If I were working with that same message, but this time I add the value twist. And these are two sales pages that I designed. This one's for The Leap. I don't know if any of you saw the launch of The Leap. It was Justin Livingston's mastermind program. We did $4 million in 3 weeks with that one sales page. You know, so like this stuff, when you get it right, I get clients who can do $4 million in 3 weeks because of the way that I'm talking about what I do, okay? So we build branded sites that are designed for both appearance and results to reinforce your brand experience while increasing your conversions and ROI. By the way, I'm deliberately trying to not incorporate some of the other notes so you can see if it's just a pure value-based message. This is a purely value-based message. We build branded sites that are designed for both appearance and results to reinforce your brand experience while increasing your conversions and your ROI. Who wants to work with me? Anyone? More. I'm getting more hands every go around, more hands, right? We're still not done. How can this get better? Anyone? Okay. So now let's look at the intersection of who you serve and how you're different, which is tribe. Who you serve and how you're different is tribe. So your tribe is the kind of people that you attract. Now this becomes important if you're not in a commodity business. It's even important if you're selling on Amazon. Because if you're selling against like silicone baking mats, probably not going to make a big difference. But say all of a sudden, you have silicone baking mats that use retro patterns, right? And you're going for that 50s housewife look of women who are deliberately, in the story might be choosing, women who are deliberately choosing to be there for their family, right? Now all of a sudden, that silicone baking mat that used to be a commodity is no longer a commodity because you're creating a tribal affiliation around that. And for all these women who feel embarrassed because they're no longer out there in the world getting a job or bringing home money like other women are, but there are a lot of people who are making that choice right now, you know, you're honoring and recognizing that. So like I said, it's impacted by the look, the feel, the tone, the spirit, the personality, the flavor of what you do. So Simon Sinek, who did that amazing, TED Talk on why, says your job is not to attract everybody who needs what you have to offer. It's to attract those who believe what you have, who believe what you believe, right? When you attract people who believe what you believe, you have people who are going to stay with you for way longer, right? Because they're working with you because of you. So this is what I usually say when I meet people for the first time. I say, I turn entrepreneurs into online superheroes. I turn entrepreneurs into online superheroes. Now, when I say this, what do you think happens next? Anyone? What's that? Yeah? They say, what do you mean by that? Or they say, how do you do that? Or they say, tell me more. So the difference is, how many of you have ever said, someone asked you what you do, and then you're like, right? And you just tell them all this stuff, and they don't care yet, right? They're not interested. So the difference between push marketing, where you're like shoving your message on somebody else, and pull marketing, which is more about like the dance and the flirtation, is I just say something, 5 words. I get them so curious that now they're in the position of asking me questions about what I do. And so when I tell them, they've asked, I haven't just dumped it on them. So I created the curiosity, which all of it sudden has them much more interested and engaged, right? So tell me more. And then of course, I'm gonna have it backed up with what? An answer, right? So they say, okay, I turn entrepreneurs into online superheroes. Tell me more. I help people become the most bold, colorful, self-expressed version of who they are online, because in this day and age, that's the only way to cut through the noise of a billion websites and actually be seen. That's how you become a superhero. And we do that through websites, branding, messaging, and storytelling that's authentic to you, right? And then, who wants to work with me now? Anyone? You want to work with me, right? Right? It's that easy. It's really that easy. So then they say, do you have a card? And that's how this works. When you start to construct your message at every single one of these levels, you can leave that commodity space behind. You can do way more, convert way higher with the same number of people. You don't have to go rely on all those trends and technologies to send traffic, because you're able to just attract and magnetize, and all of a sudden people start referring you, and you just start to create this endless traffic for yourself because it becomes self-generating. And this is more the virality and the power of good messaging. Now, can anyone guess what's at the middle? What's in the center of all these things? Anyone?
Product.
Nope.
Customers. Success.
All of those are great things, products, customers, and success. Not the answer I was looking for. It is brand. The center of what you offer, who you serve, how you're different, the center of niche, value, and tribe is brand, right? And a lot of times people think brand is for the Fortune 500 companies who've got millions to blow on Super Bowl ads, right? Super Bowl's about to happen, but it's not. If you're in any kind of competitive market that's not a commodity market, or you want to move out of a commodity market into a value-based market, then brand matters, because it's the invisible layer of meaning around your business. And it's created through the very clear and consistent use of language, the clear and consistent use of visuals, and the clear and consistent creation of experiences around your work that go beyond the sum of its parts. And brands is what separates your business from other similar businesses and increases the perceived value in the minds of your audience, and has people paying me $50,000 to $150,000 to build these brands and web platforms for them, right? So I only need, to make $1 million, we need about 20 clients, and some of that sometimes less, like 15 to 20 clients. Now that's a great position to be in, because I've created this association around our work. And yes, we back it up with really good work, or we wouldn't still be here. It's not just hot air. This is assuming that you guys are already amazing at what you do, and most people are. Now, brand equity is about adding value to your business. And the more you do this, the more value it adds. I've been in this for 5 years, so now it's really easy for me to get that customer who's a well-known name and a figure and an online superhero already. And it shows up in the perceived quality or the emotional attachment that people had to your brand that's more than the sum of its parts. So I gave this webinar twice last month, and I asked people on the line, how long have you been following me? And people said 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. A couple of people said 1 day or 1 month. But the number of people who've been following for years was just gigantic. I was like, wow, this stuff really works, because most people, they start to get this inbox blindness, and they start to neglect your emails after a pretty quick time if you're not continuing to engage them with this level of messaging, which I call the atomic level of messaging, which is really getting to the molecular level of what your business is all about, the core and the essence, and stripping away all the other crap that makes you sound like everybody else, talking about the same thing in the same way as everybody else, so nobody's listening. And then you become one of the billion other websites. And that's how you create a brand. This is my brand, live your message, be the superhero to your tribe. And like I said, this is the only way to stand out, and the 3.25 billion people who are online right now is really you. There's only one you on the internet. And I believe that the way to create enduring online success is to turn up the volume on your unique expression, to tap into that atomic level of your messaging and figure out what makes you stand out, what can differentiate you from everybody else in the marketplace. Because branding is the art and the science of meaningful differentiation, meaningful to you and meaningful to your audience. Because when you can stand in alignment with that differentiation, it's a lot more powerful, because you're not just speaking words that you don't believe to try to present an image, but you actually are integrated with that marketing. And people can feel it. Like, how many of you have met someone who's so like lit up and alive and passionate about what they do, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just have to work with them. I want to just pour them into a bottle and like drink them, you know? I want to get out a spoon and like eat them up, because it's so amazing and they're alive, and you're like, I want to work with that one. That person doesn't sound like everybody else. So that is the authentic brand blueprint, and this came out of about 5 years of teaching this stuff. So it's deceptively simple, but you can really use it to craft atomic level messages that will really grab your audience. And that's what creates what I call your internet famous X factor. And I'm going to skip this stuff because we don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to briefly touch on the other master keys. And like Chris said, I'm doing a 3-day live event in February 26th, 27th, 28th at the Westin LAX, where I'm teaching all 4 master keys. Tickets are usually, I think right now they're online at $297, but we've got them for $97 for locals. So let me talk the strategy master key, and I'll go into like all of these in 3 days there. So the strategy master key is based on the stages of business development. And there are 4 specific stages of business development: what I call the blue sky stage, the call me stage, the list build stage, and the authority stage. And the real big challenge is that most people, like 99% of business training out there, is teaching you authority level strategies. And if you try to do an authority level strategy before you even know what you do and how you're different and why it matters, you can be sending like 100,000 visitors to your site and getting, you know, almost 0 conversion. So it doesn't work, and you're going to run yourself ragged because you haven't set up the conversion mechanisms and the product pathways and all of that to take advantage of that traffic. So what I like to do is teach people what to do at the right time based on where they are in their business development. And the very first stage is what I call the blue sky stage. And this is where maybe you've got a vague idea or message, but you're not really clear on it. Maybe you don't, and you just know you want to have a business. You could be making a little bit of money, but you don't really have consistent revenue because you aren't 100% clear on what your value is. Usually at this stage, you're bringing about $0 to $20,000 in revenue, nothing to $20,000. And the thing that you need to really do at this stage, and I've got a lot of models and templates and stuff for this, is figure out what only you can do. And when I say only you can do, it's not like anybody else, no one else could do it in the world, but the way that you do it, what you bring to it because of your story, your values, your framework, your experience, your personality, all that stuff that I just shared with you, that rabbit hole that goes so much deeper, like that's how you figure out what only you can do, which is what allows you to kind of lead the marketplace. And also, what do you actually want to do? I mean, I don't want to build a business that's like another job. I mean, there's 80% job dissatisfaction in this country, and a lot of people create a business that just feels like another job. But what do you actually want to do? What are you going to love to do? You're going to be talking about this stuff day in and day out. I mean, I've probably given like well over 100 webinars. I talk about this stuff all the time. You can probably tell. I talk a lot, right? And I got to love what I'm talking about, or I'm going to start to hate my life and hate myself, and that kind of sucks. And then what's going to actually fill a real need in the marketplace, right? What's going to fill a real need in the marketplace? So once you have that and you start to make more, get super clear on your value and make more consistent revenue, you enter stage number 2, which is the call me stage. And the call me stage is where you understand what you do, you understand who you serve, and you understand the unique value that you bring to your customers. You started to gain a little bit of momentum, and you're probably making money more consistently, but not as much as you want. Now, why do you think I call this the call me stage of business development? Anyone guess? I'll guess. I call it the call me stage of business development because the primary way that you get customers is by actually getting on the phone with someone and talking to them. I know it sounds really unique in this world of online business where everything seems automated and digital, but I've got a saying at Live Your Message. And that saying is, before you can make money while you sleep, you've got to be able to get what? Guess what? Yeah, before you can make money while you sleep, you got to be able to make money while you're awake, right? Kind of makes sense. And everyone's saying instant overnight success, push button solution to make money while you sleep. And there are a handful of people who can actually do that, but the vast majority of people can't. And so they end up spinning on strategies that they're not ready for. But what happens if you talk to a few people and you fine tune your model, you figure out what they want, what they respond to, and you learn how to sell someone one-on-one, which is, guess what, coincidentally, similar technique and skill set to selling people one-to-many. Even having that experience for just a little bit of time can save you so much time, effort, energy, and wasted resources later on, right? So at this stage of business development, when I first started, I basically had an opt-in gift and I had a $3,000 to $5,000 service package. Similar service to package to what I'm charging, like $50,000 to $100,000 now, right? And my business grew from $58,000 to $176,000 in 12 months just by slowing down and really understanding what can I do to these people with these people one-on-one before trying to productize and do all of this other stuff. And I got super clear in what I did and how I did it uniquely and differently from everybody else, right? Stage number 3 then is the list build stage. Now, can anyone guess why I call this the list build stage? Anyone? Yeah, so the way you make money, and these stages are based on your business model or the majority of the income that you make. The way you make money in the list build stage of business development is by building an email list and then marketing to that list, right? And this is really good. And by the way, the Call Me business model is awesome for people like coaches, consultants, creative professionals, independent professionals, service providers. You know, the only people who don't start in Call Me is probably if you've got a software or if you've got like a physical product, but even then you still want to be calling and talking to people. So the list build stage is great if you've got any kind of online trainings, home study programs, courses, info products, group coaching, or physical products that have a high potential for any kind of continuity, subscription, membership. So you want to be cultivating that relationship and not just a one-off, right? And it works only when you've got the proven offer. I had someone at my live event last year, and she basically was so concerned about her mailing list, and she was spending something like every week 2 hours, engaging her mailing list. And I said, how many people are on your mailing list? And she's like, 278. And I said, okay, so you're spending 4 hours a week engaging 278 people, and when you look at the open rates of emails, it's maybe 20% and you're doing well. So out of that 278, you're actually working with less than 60 people. And if you look at the click-through rates, then it's even less, and maybe you're working at that point with 20 people. And then they're clicking through to a blog, and there's nothing for them to do on the blog. So you're actually spending 12 hours of time every single week doing something that's not bringing you any money, where you could be spending 12 hours talking to people and actually making money. I said, get rid of the list. She's like, well, what about those 278 people? I said, when you're ready, you're going to get them in a day. Just forget about them, let them go, and come back and rebuild that list when you're ready to take advantage of that list and monetize that list. In the meantime, just let them go. It's eating up way too much time, and you're also spending $20 a month on Aweber on top of that, right? Just let them go. It's not your stage of business development yet, and by spending all your time focusing on activities for a different stage, you're actually killing your revenue potential. And this is what you don't hear people telling when they're selling you these list building products, right? And I've seen so many people buy course after course after course, and they can't make any money off of the courses. I've had students. I had a student who was doing really, really well in one of my programs, making $6,000 a month in a very specific health-related niche. She ended up studying the daily podcast strategy and creating this daily podcast. 600 plus episodes later, still zero engagement. She thought if she could build traffic, she could get sponsorship. And I was like, you want to start from scratch and create a sponsorship model. So 600 solid days of doing this podcast. In the meantime, her other business went down into the tubes. And now she's like, now what do I do? And I saw her at about episode number 35, and I said, pull the plug. Don't do this. You're not going to make money. This isn't even your niche or your area of expertise. Just stop. She's like, but this guy says if you do a podcast every single day, 2 years down the road, you're going to have sponsors and all these people and just paying you money. I'm like, this ain't going to happen. Just pull the plug. And she couldn't hear my advice. And I'm heartbroken for her because she just spent 2 years of her life on this, right? So the secret is really focusing on 1 to 2 proven and scalable offers, right? You really want to focus on 1 to 2 proven scalable offers and maybe 1 and 2 marketing channels. So during this stage, when I was in this stage, my list grew from 1,000 to 50,000 people, and my revenue grew from 176,000 to about 750,000. And basically, that was when I hit that stage. And about 4 years into my business, I hit the next stage. And the next stage is the authority stage. And I'm really glossing over these. There's actually a lot more depth and complexity to each stage, and at what point do you make a decision to progress to the next stage, and what are the indicators, and what do you need to do at each stage to start profiting and making money as quickly as possible based on what you have, rather than waiting to get everything perfect and have all your ducks in a row before you do it, which is what most people do. They have to build this huge infrastructure or create 600 podcasts before they start making money, which is not a strategy that I would ever want to do. I prefer the learn while you earn strategy. And this stages of business development is a learn while you earn, framework here. The authority stage is kind of a natural business model for authors and speakers, people who make the majority of their income from selling books and ideas and information, as well as being paid to speak and doing high-end consulting, right? And you're getting new clients. The more marketing channels you have, the more you get new clients. And this is the point where you feel like you're like the it guy or girl, and people are like, that person is everywhere. I keep hearing your name. Everywhere I go, you're there on Facebook, then you're like following me across the web, through your retargeting, you're everywhere. That's that point. And so your primary goal here is not just about building the list, it's about nurturing the audience and creating those deep, lasting connections with that audience. So they're gonna wanna follow you from product to product to product, right? And like I said, this is a stage where you're everywhere. But the biggest problem with this stage is it sounds so sexy that it's really tempting to try to start here. And this is why almost everybody in the online space fails. They try to start here with this authority model before they're ready for it, before they even have value proposition for the marketplace. I mean, all these people trying to sell you those magic flying suits to get to the top of the staircase overnight, rather than just saying, slow down a bit, and we'll get you there. But you need to do a few things first. And that's the 4 stages of business development. And doing business this way has allowed us to grow from 0 to, last year we crossed over 1.5 million. This year we're gonna probably double again to $3 million in a pretty short time. And that we were not instant overnight successes. I did not push a button and have success, but I created all of these things that I'm talking about, and that's what gave success, right? So this is really, really important, to really do the right thing at the right time. Every other kind of business in the world outside of the gold rush mentality business space has a sense of progression and sequencing and ascension within business. But we can kind of gloss over that sometimes in this space. And I like to think about it like a child doesn't start, become an adult overnight, You can't run before you can crawl, before you can walk, right? You can't run in stiletto heels like, hey, just got started. And maybe if you're like a trust fund baby, maybe if you've got a couple really high profile relationships, maybe if you're just a marketing genius, you can do it. But everybody else, like people like me, no, can't do it, It's really hard. Now the next master key, and I don't have time to go into these in depth, and I'm already glossing over the others, is what I call the money master key. And this is my take on sales funnels, right? So most people talk about sales funnels from the point of view of what you offer. And remember, when you just focus on what you offer, you're in the commodity model. So like, here's what I've got. I've got this $47 product that goes up to $197 product that goes up to a $497 product that goes up to $997 to $2,000 to $10,000. And they're like, you just have to have these stages so they can say yes to higher and higher levels of commitment and investment. But what about, instead of looking at it that way, looking at it from the point of view of your customer? So just like you are on the stairway of business development in your business, your customers are in a stairway. It might be a stairway in life, in health, in relationship, in business. They're on a stairway. And what if you figure out what that stairway looks like? What if you figure out what the steps on that stairway looks like? And what if you give them one step at a time? What happens then? I've got customers who've been with me for 5 years who've bought absolutely everything we have to offer. So I've created this 18-step pathway that we go into in depth in Message to Money Live. And it's based on really figuring out that stairway for your customer, understanding the question, what next? I just was leading my mastermind group today, and one of my customers just decided on a VIP day, and we named the VIP day. It was really cool. And then I asked her, well, then what happens? So they come to you for this VIP day. Well, what happens next? She's like, I give them a hug. So I joked, is that a VIP day with a happy ending? You give them a hug, and then what, right? I hope you do more than just give them a hug at the end. What do you think they're gonna want at the end of that point? And she's like, I don't know. And so we brainstormed and we figured out what their next step on their journey is. After the deliverable, and I don't wanna go in depth on it because I don't know if I can talk about that, but after what we're giving her in that VIP day based on her specific model, we figured out, well, what's the next step on the journey? And that's figuring out the stairway that your customer is on and always being one step ahead of them with the next thing at precisely the moment when they need it. And when you start to craft this 18-step customer journey, like I teach you, all of a sudden, this first row, you get this first row, that's a 6-figure business. You get that second row in place, that's a mid-6-figure business. You get all 3 rows, that's a 7, ultimately 8-figure business. That's how we progressed. And you just add the next offer, and the next offer, not based on some artificial sequence of $47 to $97 to $197, but based on what they actually need and they want and they desire to have the transformation that they want. And this is what allows you to get off the marketing treadmill and have more people invest more money more often to make a bigger difference in their lives, and go from making a smaller transformation by selling them one thing to make a really lasting impact in their lives by working with them for years and becoming their mentor and their guide as they walk this stairway. And lastly, we've got the community master key. And the community master key is all about getting off the marketing treadmill and understanding, based on your stage of business development, what are the marketing channels that are actually going to fuel your growth, right? Podcasts are not going to fuel your growth at the blue sky stage of business development like we saw with my client. 600 podcasts later, 0 revenue, 0. I tried to tell her, but she chose this authority marketing strategy at the blue sky stage, and because one guy had done it before, she thought she could do it. And all these people are out there teaching the one thing, the one tactic, the one trend, the one technology that they did that brought them their success, and assuming that conditions are going to be identical to everybody else that they're teaching. And it doesn't happen that way. So the community master key, and I look at marketing too. It's kind of like an inner circle of marketing activities and an outer circle. And the inner circle tends to be more direct forms of marketing that are more appropriate for blue sky and call me businesses. The outer circle are more indirect, one-to-many forms of marketing that tend to be better for list build and authority businesses, where you can actually work and convert that kind of traffic. Because if you don't have the processes and the mechanisms to convert that traffic, no good, right? No bueno. And a lot of people, I ask them, what happens if you have 1,000 customers tomorrow? Can you handle them? Nope. Well, why are you going after 1,000 customers, if you don't have the way to handle them tomorrow, right? So things like that. So getting off the marketing treadmill and really identifying the exact marketing channels that are actually going to bring you business, the kind of business and qualified leads that you need right now based on your stage of business development. So basically, that's, in a nutshell, a very quick version, and I spoke as fast as I could, Chris, of the 4 master keys to online business success. They're master keys that unlock any door, any online business. They're not tactics or tricks that are going to be fads. And I like to say this quote by Neil Armstrong, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Because I kind of think that when you take that one step on the stairway, when you lead a single person down that one step on their stairway, this massive ripple effect happens, it really does. As they get more on their path, whether it's in life, in business, in health, or relationship, as they get more on their path, it inspires other people to get more on their path. And it's what it's all about. So when you dial into this core, atomic message, and you have that bold level of self-expression that can be heard over the noise of 1 billion websites, people start to listen. You start to inspire people with who you are, what you do. Business becomes a lot easier because you're no longer convincing and persuading. You're inspiring. It's the pull marketing that has them come to you. And those are basically the 4 master keys of unlocking your online business. Like I said, that was the super fast version. I have a 3-day version at Message to Money Live in February, the 26th, 27th, 28th at the Westin LAX. And you're local. It's only like an hour away, so I thought I'd invite you to join us and see if you'd like to come out. We actually have people flying in from Singapore, from Germany, from Port of Spain, from all of these places to come. And I realized, well, I haven't even invited a lot of people who are in my backyard, and I really love to give back and help to grow the entrepreneurial community locally here. So what we wanted to do is essentially give you all $97 tickets. And I'm also doing a lot of laser coaching at this event, like what I did with Melissa and helping her work out her story. And I do a lot of laser coaching with the audience because a lot of people like to learn by example, and it helps everybody in the room. And you get to meet my community. And I've got people from all over the world who've been in our community for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, who are really extraordinary entrepreneurs doing amazing and inspiring things. And I think you'd like them. So that's it, and tickets are currently $297 online. They will go up to $997 before the event. And today, because you're part of Chris's group and you're local LA people, and I want to support the local community, I got them for $97. So if you want to come, if you want to join us, I'd love to have you. And I'd love to share these 4 keys in depth, because I've got all the templates and the worksheets and the exercises too, and share them with you so you can figure out how do I apply the 4 master keys to unlock my online business success. So you can start to get off that trend, tactic, technology treadmill and figure out what are the universal steps that you need to take to grow not just this business, but any business in the future, and really make it work. So that's what I got for you, and I've got some order forms here. This $97 offer, by the way, it doesn't exist online. So I've got some order forms, and the only way to get it is when you see me in person and you're local, you live kind of in this general vortex of Los Angeles and LAX airport. So thanks so much for inviting me. That was a lot of fun.
So, can you take some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take some questions, and I've got some order forms if anyone would like to come and join us in Los Angeles.
So for anybody who is interested in doing that, please sign up and let me know that you've done so. And we have, Marisa is actually very gracious and also offering, for those who are not familiar with the affiliate marketing, what it means is that any sales that go for the tickets for here, she's actually going to be giving half of that to the group. If you notice, the projector today is really, really good. It's not mine. She actually brought her own. I actually do have my projector, but I warned her that the detail on mine is really bad. We've had this projector for probably 6 years now, and the quality units show that it's 6 years old. Any proceeds that come to it, we're going to upgrade the projector. I have never put money into buying a new one because the only time I use the projector is at this group. But the number one complaint is I can't see. So it's time that we need to go and update the projector. We will be putting it to that, one thing. The other thing I'd like to do, though, is if you do go to the group, I mean, I've already signed up. I mean, I've already paid my money to go to this group. I would like to actually have like some kind of sort of a presence of Santa Clarita. So
Santa Clarita in the house.
yes. So,
Yes.
with actually part of that 50 that does come to the group, we're gonna get shirts. Okay. So if anybody would like to actually donate their graphic design skill, because you do not want me to do it, trust me. If somebody has to do it, I guess I have the ugliest websites on the web. So I mean, if somebody has a little graphic design skills, it's something very simple. You know, any ideas, artistic ideas for it. Like I said, it's going to be one color. Shirts will probably be black or dark in color. I don't care for what color, light colored shirts. So that's what we're going to be going with. And then it'll just say something simple, not big and gaudy. It's going to be something simple and just a presence like that we're going to have it. So please let me know that you've signed up. And then SCV, I have my cards here, and it says scvinternetmarketers@gmail.com. That is the email address. Let me know your name and your shirt size, t-shirt size.
Yeah.
Okay? So that I will go ahead and if anybody knows affordable printing, t-shirt printing shop around here that can do it as well, please let me know. That can get them probably, because I'll probably put in the order next week so that we have a week for them to make it, and then we'll have the shirts on hand, and we'll have it there at the event.
I'm actually producing shirts.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I've got these "You Know Me from the Internet" T-shirts, and you could just maybe pre-buy some of mine if you feel like it. But it doesn't say Santa Clarita. Like, you can tell me what color you want. We can do a special color just for you or something. Which could be
How
fun.
much are they?
They're going to be $20 each.
Okay. So that's I mean. That's,
But he gets half the ticket sales, so it covers the T-shirt
yeah,
if
so
you want to
it'll
buy
cover,
it.
since
This is
you're
a great
signed up, we're going to be
message,
using that because for those of you who also don't know, this group is never going to be about for profit. Anything left over, above and beyond, we could actually. I would love to do some type of contest again this year. So we'll be looking at something to do of something that's easy because my time has gotten very, very restricted. But something that's easy that we can just prove that it's been done and then move forward with it. Now, I want to know, for those who don't know, Marisa does know some of the biggest names on the internet market. I was curious to know, through this process that you've gone through, about what phase did you start to get to know some of these people, to get them on your
it was in about, we're 2015 now. So I did my first superhero summit, 2016. I did my first superhero summit in 2013. And basically the idea was, someone came to me and said, Marisa, do you want to do a summit with me? And I'm like, summits, summits are really boring, and it's like a dime a dozen, and they're everywhere, and nobody wants to go, and you've got like 20 speakers, and they're all talking about life purpose or something like that, and nobody really cares. And I said, if I do a summit, it's got to have a really good hook. And so, but he planted the seed, and it just started to like sink into my brain, and then I came up with an idea to create this online business superhero summit. The first one was the video superhero summit, to basically invite the top 10 superheroes in the area of, say, video marketing, and have them all in a summit together. So I had the idea, and I turned everybody into a superhero, and I probably got some pictures here that I can show you. So I turned everybody into a superhero, and basically I got, on my very first summit, people like Andy Jenkins, because I went ahead and I actually drew the superhero for them. It's kind of using the same marketing framework that I taught you, of how do you stand out, how do you do something that's so awesome that everybody just wants to be a part of it. So my very first summit, I ended up doing these ahead because nobody knew who I was. So I created these awesome characters. Here's Andy Jenkins, and I mailed it to him and said, look, I've just turned you into a superhero. Do you want to be on my superhero summit? So I got Andy Jenkins, I got James Wedmore, I got a lot of really good, I think Jody Jellis was on it, Pete Williams, who was business partners with Rich Sheffrin. I got all these people using the authentic brand blueprint principle that I taught you. Instead of doing a boring summit like everybody else did, I said, how can I do a summit that everybody's going to want to be on? The superheroes are going to be so excited to be on the summit, and the people are going to be so excited to attend. So I turned everybody into an online superhero, and basically I've hosted, you can see the names on this, I've hosted Alex Mendozian, Adam Urbanski, Andy Jenkins, Mike Fulsame, just like Harlan Kilstein, Jeff Goins, tons and tons of people, Michael Port, Lisa Sasevich, Ryan Levesque, Neil Patel said yes, and then all of these people were like, yeah, I'll do it, and I turned them all into superheroes, and they all came on my summit, and that's how I grew my audience to 50,000, plus.
If people didn't know you at the time,
nobody knew me.
So how did you grow your audience? I mean,
okay, so you need to impress one person. So 5 years ago, I went to Don Crowther's Social Profit Formula event, back after Don Crowther just launched. And he said, and by the way, if you're at my event and I say, raise your freaking hand to speak, even if you don't know what you're gonna say, right? And just, you never know who's in that room and who's listening. So Don Crowther's gonna do some hot seats. Who wants one? Raise my hand. 4 people said their names, and then he chose, or 5 people, he had all of us say something really quick, and then he chose 2 of us to hot seat. And then he hot seat me up on stage with him, and apparently made a big impression on him and on the audience. Like, everybody was talking about it afterwards. And then I ran into him. I was in Brendan Burchard's mastermind. I ran into Don at Brendan's mastermind, and I went up to him and I said, hey, you remember me? And he's like, yeah, Marisa Murgatroyd. I was going to get in touch with you. And I said, great. I was on your website the other day, and I noticed a few challenges that might be blocking your conversion. Are you interested in knowing about them? He said, yeah. Started this whole conversation. He said, hey, if you consult with me for 4 hours, would you like to join my high-end mastermind, for free as my guest? And I said, sure, I'll do that. So I gave him a half-day VIP day. I joined his high-end mastermind. He introduced me to, people like Andy Jenkins. Andy said yes to me. And then from there, but it's learning how to talk the way that I'm teaching you how to talk. Like, that's what makes the difference, because it has people pay attention. You're not like, here's my stuff, just buy my stuff. Nobody wants to do that. But when you really learn this art of this clarity key in particular, the other keys are like bonus, and they're gravy, and they're gonna really help you save a lot of time and effort and energy. But when you master this clarity key, you have the ability to go up to anyone, anywhere, and inspire them with who you are. So they're asking you those questions. Can I have your card? I'm interested in working with you. How do I get to know you? How do I find out more? And that's the thing that I've just become an expert at, is really the positioning and the messaging and the branding of people to turn the entrepreneurs into online superheroes. And I can now say that with and stand in that, because I've actually turned like 50 entrepreneurs into online superheroes, literally, through this summit series. And we kind of built a name based on these summits, but now we have all these other sides of our business.
I'd like to just point two big facts, or two standout things that you just talked about.
Yeah.
One
Thank
is
you.
when you went to talk to somebody who you wanted to get to know, the first thing she did, if you didn't realize that, was she offered value, and that cannot be undervalued in itself. If you ever get a chance, the other thing that really stood out is she said she went to an event. She did this. She went out. This here, with you guys being here, is actually kind of like phase one. The reason why I kept this internet marketing group going, not was because I thought I could teach and I wanted to. Actually, when it started, some of you are still in the room on that day when Will said he was going to give up the group, and he asked, anybody want to take over? And I didn't know. My knowledge was 20% of what I know today, and that's still not that big in comparative. But I said I wanted to keep it going because the networking was so important. There were others in the room, even though Wilson Matos was offering so much value and he was the one that was really leading and giving all the answers, there were always people that were in the room that had other perspectives of things. So we kept it going, and it grew from, I think it was 15 was on the we hit over 800 over the past few months in this meetup group as far as the signups go. And over time, one of the things that's really gained momentum is the networking. And one of the ways you want to network is take advantage of something that's $97 locally. Because a lot of times we have to go to Las Vegas, which is to me fairly local. You can drive. I mean, so it's a place to go. But honestly, I'm going to commute back and forth. I mean, the good thing is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the hairiest day is going to be probably Friday for traffic. Saturday and Sunday is not going to be that bad. And if you can take advantage of stuff like that, you're going to get to see, literally people, if you haven't seen her before, you will get to know her even more. She is one of the big names in internet marketing, and we are so blessed to have her here. But can you imagine what kind of people go to her events? If you get a chance, please take advantage of it. Because I always talk about Earn 1K a day. That's the only other event I really push big. Because that's where the networking started for Wilson Matos, and that was the one event that he only pushed. And it was in Vegas, to go to the Earn 1K event. And then when I got there, that's when my networking really started to grow too. So go to events like this that you can. Take advantage of it, because it could change your life. And I was invited 2 weeks ago to a mastermind group in Vegas, a small one, just to do a 45-minute talk. Stephen and I drove out there. We talked for about an hour. We got invited to lunch, and then we came back. And we have a waiting list on our client list now. That's 5 deep. And we got invited to go to another one that's probably going to double that, and then a couple weeks out. Yeah.
Totally.
And it's about adding value, really. We weren't there to sell our business. We were there because we were asked, show people what you do for us. And that's all we were there for. And yeah, we can't handle the business that's coming in. I mean, it really was that kind of effect. But it all started from the networking. So it's really important. I'm not here to sell it, but I want to just, even if she wasn't here talking about it, I would say, take advantage, which is one of the main reasons I like when people tell me they have meetup groups that are out here. By the way, there's one of our members who's online who also said that he has a programming meetup group that's out here. So he does C+ or some high-end programming, but he also has that as well. And he also did ask, will you be posting the slides? Because I know some people.
No, this is I won't. This is actually a lot of the content that we're doing at Message to Money Live at the live event, and it's not been released to the public outside of 2 webinars. I've only taught this particular slide deck of the 4 keys 3 times. Tonight being one of them, twice to internally only to my audience. In preparation for Message to Money Live, because I've never taught all 4 of these keys at an event before. It's kind of the culmination of about many years of work. So
well, thank you for letting us actually
no
broadcast
worries.
it then, because she did give us permission to do that. So.
But I will, if anyone in the broadcast audience, if any of you want to come too, I can extend the $97 offer to all of you as well. I know you're not in the room, but if you'd like to come and join us in the room and meet everybody else, that's cool too. And what I was going to say about networking is that I had Jason Fladlin come to my meetup in Los Angeles, and he drove out to join us. And by the way, Jason was also introduced to me from the connection with Don Crowther. And he's been on 5 summits. So I had Jason Fladlin on 5 superhero summits because he's just incredible. So he was in my living room, and we were just chatting, and I was telling him about my upcoming event, and he was like, do you know Chris? No, he didn't even say, do you know Chris? He just started telling me about this Santa Clarita meetup. And I said, that sounds like something that I'd like to go and speak at too, because I'm growing more. We grew globally, And now I haven't really built a local following, so I haven't done a lot of local speaking engagements like this one. So I speak all over the world, but haven't done it in my backyard. And I said, you know, I'd like to go speak because I don't normally speak locally in front of people. And he introduced me, and then Chris got back, and here I am. And it's like, you never know where the connections are going to come from.
Yes, and I'm very humbled that she came. I didn't know you were local either. I mean,
Yeah.
being on the internet, she could have been in Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome that we have somebody in our backyard as well. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Does anybody have questions for Marisa? She gave some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, right there.
Just what's in the VIP access ticket?
Oh yeah, so for the 2 levels of ticket, the $97 general admission, the the VIP access is an additional $197, and it's designed to solve 2 biggest problems I see at live events. One is you're in a room of 200 people. How do you meet the right people, right? You know, how do you meet them? So what we're doing is we're doing hosted, facilitated networking lunches every day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where we provide a healthy buffet. You know, we've got people who are all kinds of gluten-free, this or that, and we've got everything taken care of. And we're going to lead a facilitated networking activity where everyone gets a ticket every day, so they're going to be with different people each day, and then there's going to be like a conversation starter, so you get to meet the most number of people in the room as possible. And then the other problem that people have is what happens on Monday morning when you go home, right? So you go to this event and you learn all these key strategies, what happens. So what I'm going to do for VIPs is I'm going to have an event, like a webinar after the event to answer all the questions that you wished you had asked in the room. And also there's a 30-minute accountability call with Leanne there. She's going to support you one-on-one too. Leanne was the accountability coach for John Benson's high-end mastermind, and John Benson was the inventor of the video sales letter, and she's absorbed a lot of awesome knowledge, and so she's going to do a 30-minute private session with you too. Then we have like a superhero-themed costume party the night before the event, and where all of our VIPs are going to be at the costume party. It's my husband's actual birthday, and so we're having the superhero costume party. We also do laser coaching, like in the Saturday and Sunday morning before, so there's extra laser coaching opportunities, and priority seating, so we open the room to VIPs first to get the front rows, so that's what we do for the extra $200.
By the way, you're freaking me out every time you talk about the superhero thing because I do superheroine.
Oh yeah? Sweet.
Yeah, I do the superhero. And
You go, girl.
I thought I was the only one who came up with, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, oh my, all of these things that's coming, I mean, a lot of different things that's coming out of your mouth. It's like, oh God, I hope she never thinks that I'm taking her stuff because it's
well,
so
I did not invent superheroes, but yeah, here's mine, my superhero. And I've got other superheroes too. Here's like the cowgirl superhero, and you know, there's a lot of them, superheroines. So I've got, this is the I Dream of Jeannie superheroine. So we got a lot of them. No, I'm not pretending to own superheroes. I mean, that would have been cool to come up with them, but.
Oh, good. So you'll never. So if you ever come across my site,
Yes.
you'll never say, "She probably stole my idea."
Who knows? This is the internet. You know, everybody steals everything.
Oh yeah.
It's just what it is. I think you had a question.
I did.
first, and yeah.
I noticed that a lot of your presentation deals with list building and everything for non-physical products.
Yes.
I sell physical products. Do you address that
Yeah.
strongly?
Well, I mean, all of these keys that I'm talking about relate for either physical product or non-physical product. I mean, the clarity key and understanding how to really talk about your physical products will make a massive difference. You know, in terms of the stages of business development, you are more in the list build if you're in physical products. Really understanding the sequencing of products, even if it's a physical product, can be really, really helpful in the marketing piece. So I think it's while most of the people who come are not physical product people, there's still, I do have a lot of people in my following and in my community who are studying with us who are physical product people. And what I have to say is that when you're able to apply these sorts of messaging and positioning strategies to a physical product, it can really help take it out of that commodity market, which is the biggest danger of physical products.
Okay, good.
So yeah. Excellent. I think there was this one first.
What's the time of the event? What are the dates?
Yeah, so the events start at 9 a.m. each day, and we do registration at 8 a.m. on the Friday. The party the night before, if you're VIP, is at 7 p.m. But it's basically from 9 a.m. until about 6:30, and then we usually do some kind of like the first Friday we'll have a cocktail party right after. So from 6:30 to 9, people will just be mingling and networking. The next day, you know, we start the VIP Q&A 8:30 to 9, and then the rest of the general admission event starts from 9. We'll go again until 6:30, and I do a fireside chat from 8 to 10. We're just bringing people in and answering questions informally. And then the last day goes from, you know, 8:30 for VIPs, 9 for general admission, until about 6 again on the final Sunday.
I may not be driving back and forth then.
Yeah. Well, the room block is, it's $159 for a single or a double. It's $169 for a triple and $179 for a quad. So you guys could band together if you want to and get like, you know, Animal House for internet marketers, you know, and have 4 people per room. So, you know, and the room block's almost full. So, you know, if you want that, it's Live Your Message or Message to Money. Give them, you know, the Westin, either one of those names, and you can get part of the room block. Yeah, and people are going to be like networking, and there are activities that go pretty late. We like to go full on, because I mean, we have people coming from like Asia and Europe and all over the world, so they want to really maximize their time together. Yeah, right here?
Are you going to be recording or live streaming or anything? Because I can't physically come.
Totally.
That day.
We're not going to be live streaming, and we are recording, but we're not selling the recordings. So it's really part of the reason why I have so many products and trainings and things like that, but the live event experience is focused a lot on the interaction and things. So it's not something that we're doing. I'm sorry. Yeah. Right here.
First of all, terrific talk.
Thank you.
In either the trainings you've done or things you're doing going forward, have you thought at all about subdividing your tribe into different business models? So,
you know,
folks who are info marketers versus coaches, trainers, consultants versus.
It's interesting, list segmentation. So we're about to take a new website live, and let me just show you, and you're getting a sneak peek that nobody's seen publicly, the new Work With Us page. And I want to show you because we're actually, nobody really does this, but what we're doing is we're leading with the training on the stages of business development. So like our commitment to you is to get the right program at the right time in the business. So, sorry, don't crop. Just trying to move this stuff out of the way. But as you can see, but I haven't done a list segmentation, but I do have a quiz. This is what I call the superhero quiz. And the superhero quiz is going to help people identify where they are in relation to living in their zone of genius, which helps give us powerful indicators of where they are in their business. And it includes, I think, a financial question. But you see, I teach here the stages of business development. Then each of our products is coded based on what stage it's appropriate for. So we let people know if you're in the blue sky stage, these are the trainings that are relevant for you. If you're in the call me stage, these are the trainings that are relevant for you. If you're in the list build stage, these are the training that are relevant for you. If you're in the authority stage, here's what's relevant for you. And so we're trying to help people choose the right offers, because I don't want to take people's money to just take people's money. You know, I was telling Leanne in the car, I was like, I could probably make a lot more money if I was selling the magic flying suits like everybody else, but my, you know, who I am does not allow that. So I'm only committed to matching people to the right product at the right time in their business so they can actually get real value out of it. So we're doing something kind of like that, but not a full-on segmentation based, like list segmentation based on it. But that's a great idea. There's a way for us to do it. Be helpful, yes.
Are you building in Page Cloud? Is that why you work from Photoshop?
No, we do everything that's custom designed. So, because we do like high-end, you know, web development for people. Everything that we're building is custom designed, and you know, all of that. We've got this site is ultimately going to be in WordPress, but we do these really custom layouts. They are still responsive grids and things like that, but we'll custom code it.
How many people are first timers today? Just so you know, everybody goes through this kind of phase. If you're a first timer and you're kind of new to internet marketing, a lot of this may be going over your head. That is totally natural. Keep on coming back, because about 4 or 5 months down the line, and all the vocabulary will start to fall in line, everything starts to get together. But I also want to preface the fact that our Internet Marketers Group, what Marisa just taught, completely goes against 90% of
it's
how
true.
we do. And the thing is, what she taught today, she's actually right. One of the highest reasons we have failure is because everybody starts with the authority. And I've been teaching that too. What are you about? Let's start with the authority and get you up there kind of thing. And it makes so much more sense. I love the fact what she said, I'm an SEO, I don't know, I wouldn't say expert, but I know SEO really, really well. I know pay-per-click really, really well. And that's marketing. That's everything we've gone through. That's everything we've been taught. Pick something that you're really, really good at, become the authority in it, and that's where you start. And it's been really backwards, and it's been really frustrating because we've been running this group for many years now. And unfortunately, there is a high failure rate. And I usually attribute it to, it's a business. Everything else like other businesses, 90% of them fail. You just got to kind of get back up and keep on going and learn your way through it. But you know what? It could be very well the approach, obviously. That's it.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is that you will come back to this group. You're going to hear a lot of PPC SEO questions, website building questions, and we will talk a lot about Amazon. And she's completely right about the Amazon model. I am in Amazon. I love it. My clients are in it. But if Amazon were to change the rules one day, a lot of my other businesses have gone from 90% loss of income because somebody changed the rules. Google changed the rules. Yahoo changed the rules. I mean, there's rules that change on different platforms. Facebook has changed rules that have made businesses disappear instantly overnight. And Amazon's no different. I still like it, but it's just a matter of making sure that you have multiple channels that are protecting your businesses in some way. So we do target and talk a lot about different niches. And it's not that we're going to be going against what she just taught. Honestly, I want to go on. When she told me what she was going to be talking about, and it was so different because we get asked a lot. I need to know how to do SEO. A lot that comes here. One of the reasons why this group has grown large is because I know SEO, and we can answer the questions in web development. And it is important, not to like the matter of it, but there's more to it. So those of you who are new coming in, I love the fact that the perspective that has just been given is something that really has to be mobile and really taken into a good consideration of what we're learning about internet marketing, because we want to see, I really do want to see more success out of the group.
And I had to say, I didn't start off teaching this. I taught, after about 3 years, I was like, something is wrong. Like a lot of what I'm teaching, it's not actually helping people. And then I started to see why people were failing and where they were struggling, and I started to teach this. And all of a sudden people started doing things in different segments and getting a lot better results. So it really was something that came out of observation, because I only learned the authority business model too, because it's what everybody said. And so I just was like, I'm always obsessed with how can I get people better results, how can I get people better results. So after observing what was going on with my customers and my clients and my students, I was like, this isn't the right way to do it. Even though everyone is talking about it, this is the reason why people are failing. And I started teaching this new model, and it's made a lot of sense for people. Like a lot of people who start following this model, they instantly have this big revenue spike because they were only focused over here and they were neglecting all this other revenue. And it's just something that's evolved over the course of doing this for many years and getting off of that, okay, here's what common knowledge says, but is that really working? Because otherwise you have hundreds of thousands of people trying to do this and they're not succeeding, so what's wrong here? So, yeah.
Anybody else? And it is 8:40, so we officially end at 8:30. For those of you who need to leave, by all means, I mean, you're
Can I
not
get a
being
picture
rude.
with you before I go?
Of course.
But does anybody have any more? I mean, Marisa says she does have a little more time. If you have any more questions,
He's got one right here.
What font are you using in your presentation?
What font? Well, I've used a lot of them. I've got, so,
I like the
yeah, this is interesting. I believe in what I call creating a font palette. Most branders only talk about a color palette, but a lot of times you go onto sites and they're using the generic fonts, or they're using like 10 fonts. So like I create what's called a font palette for all of my high-end customers. It's 4 to 5 branded fonts that include the different applications. So you have a button font, you have body text font, you have headline fonts, you have an accent font to draw attention to call to actions. You can see we've got all of that. So it depends on which one in particular. There's more than one in here. There's a whole palette of fonts.
is your background in graphic design?
So I went to, I got a master's at the Royal College of Art in London in communication art and design. So it is in about like creating, and my bachelor's was in semiotics, which is the study of cultural symbols and signs. So what are the hidden meanings behind the symbols and the signs and the words that people don't pick up on? So yeah, I have a lot of, background in that.
It's like Robert Langdon.
The title here? This is circular. Yeah, circular STD, which is not the best name in the word, but well, yes.
It's memorable, though.
Circular STD, yes. It'll give you herpes too, You're welcome. Just don't rub up against it. Yeah. All right. Is that how we're going to go out? someone ask another question.
Second thought, I don't think I need that.
She's mind about the teacher.
All right, one right here.
Well, you said, can the offer extend? I have a commitment on the 27th, and I have to verify. So.
Let's see. Well, we really need to get it back. If you want to make a special arrangement with Leanne, talk to Leanne here, and she can get your details and make a special arrangement with you. This isn't available on our website, so just make a special. Yeah, cool. Yeah, make a special arrangement with Leanne, and yeah, technically it's an offer for just today here in person. But if you talk to her, she's nice and she'll help you. She's nicer than me. Yes. Anybody else have a question? And who's coming? Just I'd love to know. Like who's coming? Yay! Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's gonna be really, really fun. And this is the 4th time we've done this event, so it's not the first time. And every time we grow it by about 25%. So we've got, it's something I'm really, really proud of. I leave my blood and my sweat and tears on the floor. Yeah.
Check out the website. There's some great testimonials as well. Great job on the video.
Yeah.
And you can see that she definitely has
Thank you.
some high converting talent on the website.
Yeah, if you wanted to see just what people have to say about the event, there's some testimonials that are real testimonials. But the common theme is that the amount of really useful stuff that I teach is crazy. So it's not just, fluff. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, and we're here, me and Leanne, if you've got any questions about the event or, just come up and talk to us. I look forward to seeing all you in a few weeks. And we'll send you all the information, like the details in the email. Yeah, hi.
Just on the clarity side,
Yeah.
my experience, I think I may have run into Calvin's event out in Palm Springs, but I'm not sure.
No, I wasn't there, but they spoke about me because I did their branding. He told me that he mentioned me from the stage or someone else told me. Yeah.
Even as deep as you're going to go in one day, you can scratch the surface and you don't have to go away and really think about it. Is there any
Well, there is a version of the longer version of this webinar. A lot of this is the preparation. If you were to go through this again, and I talk more in the webinar version, I actually went into more depth. So if you ask me the I'll give her the information. Ask her to email you that because this was meant to be in the preparation. Yeah, I went to link to it. Because I did this for the people who are already coming to give them a snapshot of so it's not the first time they're hearing it. Yeah. Problem, yeah. Look forward to seeing you. What's your name? Mike. Great. Welcome. Well, the party the night before, and I have worn my superhero costume before on stage, yeah. And I wear it at the Superhero Summit. I wear that all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I totally do.
So on this one too, I checked on the 97.
Yes.
And I love the 97. I need to see if I
Sure. You can upgrade later to the 197. Yeah. Up until I guess a few days before you can upgrade. Yeah. Blue sky. Yes. Yeah. And it's not making you any money. Yeah. 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 It's a later level strategy. Yeah. Yeah. This is why I teach. That's why I teach this. You know, because I've seen this is all over the web. It's like my personal mission to kind of re-educate people on whether you're actually going to make you successful. Because everyone's just like, do this, and they don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Or they just want to make money. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll
take it right here.
My business cards.
Yeah, these two are there.
Yeah. You know what? Already the information.
Ask Leanne for her number because she'll give you.
I know, I have to have, I have my other ones reprinted too.
Yes.
Thank you, I'll see you in a few
Yes.
weeks.
Awesome. What's your name? Gentana.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Working out?
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be better, but what it does,
Is that what's your
after
name
I
from?
get it, it pays for my
I'm half Thai
time.
too. I thought it was half Thai. Yes.
It's not candy,
I
but
thought it was a touch like my nose.
yeah, it's on its way. People have to buy it and then trust that it's good, and then they come back.
Oh my God, and what's your other mix?
English, Irish, Welsh, French, German. You know? Yeah. Nice. Okay.
That's it?
Yeah. March 20th. Yeah. Thank you. That's funny. I thought you were tied because of the name.
Marisa, thank you for talking to my
Yes.
friend.
All right.
She was
Bye.
very encouraged that there was something
Yeah. Excellent. Well, you're supposed to be here. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's what it's all about. Like the whole first day is about that. I call day one Clarity Day. And yeah, Saturday is pretty big. Like you're gonna want to try to reschedule if you can, because I go really deep into the money, the strategy, and the money key on Saturday. Well, the morning is the strategy key. After lunch is the money key. The money key is even more important. Like you kind of got a glimpse of the strategy key, but yeah, the after lunch in particular, you know. You still get the money key, which is a big one, but I definitely recommend trying to come, you know, if you can. Yeah, totally. You'll still get a huge amount of value. Yeah, totally. Yeah. The whole first day is about that piece of it. Yeah. Because I believe in helping people create the aligned business, so day one is about the alignment part of it, and then day two is much more the business focus part. Yeah. Good. Perfect timing. You're welcome. Fran. Great. And just make a plan with Leanne. Yeah. Hi. Hi, Gail. Yay. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the next level? Yeah. You need the money master key. You did introduce this conversation that you're working on being a millionaire.
Yeah. Well, you know, but the thing about it is designing a class, I've been doing like, I'll do what I design it, but my quarters are different. Generally, based
Yeah. Hold on, I'm just grabbing something to drink. I realized I was thirsty, and I'm like, I have something in my yeah.
You know, they always just thinking, you know, I understand, like when you say, I understand my audience, I know where they're at, but in the same breath, you know, it's like, you know, I did the site, I have a little thing I've got to do is marketing, and that's when I'm going to get the stuff, but I don't focus on it. So I'm going to do, I have a little blog, instead of my blog being about research, it's about
Right.
so that's what I'm focusing on. And then the other thing is
Nice.
I sell on Etsy. So I'm like rolling to that. So I have to try to use career points.
Yeah.
Because I have one or two bracelets that is in stock. And so I'm working on trying to that's what I was trying to do. Your information is more, it seems more about
Like she volunteers.
webinar, marketing, all that kind of thing. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
delegate it to
Yeah, totally.
you know, I can use it for the legal service, but then like, well, how do I use it for the profit?
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, you've got to come join us.
I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to, because I'm doing that